Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm David. We got to talk about these BB22 All-Stars live feeds.
Hello. But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up.
And if you want to support us on Patreon, you can find a link in the description. Sarah.
David.
For as much as the feeds have been down today, like they were playing the BB basement comp, and it's been a lot of downtime, a lot of animals on the live feeds. The past couple of hours have been lit, I think the kids would say, and some interesting stuff happened last night as well. So let's break it all down.
Oh my God, there's so much. Like I was already like preparing myself this morning because like you said, we woke up, the feeds were down, they were playing the comp. So I'm like, great, get myself together. I stayed up all night, like watching everything that unfolded last night. And then boom, feeds come back and I'm like,
Wait, what? Like literally I'm switching back and forth between cameras. I'm on the quad view trying to hear two conversations happen at the same time. Like it's so much to keep up with this afternoon.
It was a lot. So let's talk about and obviously a lot of it happened off camera, like while the feeds were down. So a lot of what we're going to talk about is piecing stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we'll also talk about what happened last night, but honestly, it feels like 3 weeks ago. Like I can't even remember like what happened last night.
I'm like literally reading like my notes from last night conversations. I'm like, when did this happen?
What? Who are these people? Are they playing Big Brother? I don't understand. All right. Well, the first thing that we saw when the feeds came back was a crying Bailey in the bathroom with Davon.
Yeah.
Like serious cry, very upset. Davon is consoling her. And the first words that like stood out to me was Bailey saying, and then Tyler said, why'd you throw me under the bus? And why'd you throw Enzo's game under the bus?
Yeah.
And she said, she's saying to Davon, I'm obviously not thinking. Like she was feeling bad that she mentioned their name.
Yes.
So it sounds like Danny versus Bailey. And I'm not going to say versus I don't think it was like a fight altercation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I heard you were coming for me. I heard you were coming, like it came up in some regard.
Yeah. Some way, because I also remember hearing something with Bailey and Davon. And I think this was maybe before the bathroom conversation, but Bailey was describing some kind of interaction with Danny, and she apologized to Danny for like whatever I did to offend you. She's like, as a person, I'm sorry if I did anything to offend you. And then she said she was like so emotionally raw that she went into the bathroom and punched a wall. And so it was like some intense stuff happened there. And like you say, in this bathroom conversation with Davon, Bailey's super emotional, so emotional that she goes into the toilet with Davon and they like close the door behind themselves and they're just in there. Kevin comes in and is like listening through the door, like about to knock. And he's like, actually, I'm gonna pass on whatever's going on in there. Like, I'll just let them handle it. But she's just getting really, really upset. And I think she like talks about self-evicting at one point. And it's just like people are fraught this afternoon.
They are. While that was going on upstairs, Memphis was talking to Christmas, and Christmas was kind of like, what's going on down there? And Memphis said something about Danny's throwing grapes across the kitchen. So at some point, Danny was throwing things in the kitchen. Like it obviously got wild, got heated. Some things happened. But we also saw Enzo scrambling, which makes sense if Bailey mentioned Enzo's name. Enzo went to Danny and was like, some people were like, Danny's mad at you. Danny's mad at you. And he went to Danny and was like, yo, like, Bailey came to me and was like, Danny's coming for me. And I was like, yo, talk to her about it.
Get out of here with that. Like, I don't want to be a part of it.
Yes. I'm toning down my Enzo impression because we got a comment that I was being hateful towards Italians.
Oh, okay.
Which, first off, Enzo's not from Italy. He's American.
Right.
I'm fully under the impression I'm doing a Jersey accent. Maybe horrible. Like, I'll give you that. Horrible Jersey accent. But in no way am I trying to offend Italians. So
apologies if it came off that way. It's all in fun.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, he's like full on Enzo mode. Like this is Enzo in like his intense setting, you know, where he's like just like throwing his hands up, super animated when he talks, and it's just like very much distancing himself from whatever Bailey said, you know, like even though he's kind of been working with her and Davon, like now that she threw his name out there, like I could not be further from her in this game if I tried. She came to me. I said, get out of here. Go talk to Danny. I don't want to have anything to do with this. Like he's just really going full bore. Keeps saying like, I told her to get out of here. I told her to get out of here. I told her to get out of here. Like repeating the same thing in the hopes that it's going to like burrow itself in Danny's mind. And she's going to be like, okay, Enzo had nothing to do with this.
Yeah. And we see him sort of touch base with Triple Threat, Cody and Enzo. Tyler. Cody, Tyler, Enzo, the three of them. Enzo's like, this is what I said. So he's like getting them on the same page because they've all been in the room. They've all been like, Danny's got to go. Danny's got to go. So now Enzo's like, but this is the story. This is what really happened. We said, go squash it with Danny. We're not getting it wrong. So they're like, okay. Okay. Yeah. So they seem like those three dudes definitely seem like they're in trouble with, I'll say the Slick Six, like, because it's not just like Danny's upset with them, but obviously Bailey and Davon are like, oh, wait, what? Y'all are backtracking? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that alliance is in trouble.
That solid alliance might be in trouble.
That solid alliance that was like real from the beginning.
Yeah, totally real from the beginning, for sure.
I think like when the alliance formed, Cody was like, this isn't real. I just need to like be protected from Davon and Bailey. I just need them to think that I'm working with them. Like, okay.
Yes. Okay. What else do we know from that?
I mean, eventually Bailey was like, I'm going to sleep. So that's kind of how all of that ended. She was just like so emotionally exhausted, and I'm sure also physically exhausted, because it sounds like the BB basement was like a lot. Yeah. So emotionally, physically exhausted, she goes to sleep, and then we get into more conversations.
She has not been on the feeds much after like we originally saw her very, very upset. But Davon has been doing a lot of great work.
A lot.
Like so proud of her. But let's get to that in a minute, because let's talk about the basement that you just brought up, the comp. Yeah. Okay, so we're trying to figure out from what they're saying what it was. Definitely in the dark. We knew that. Sounds like it was ooey gooey, like gross stuff.
People are like losing their clothes. Like Nicole lost her pants.
Yo, Nicole went through this in her pants. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I know.
Christmas lost her shoes. Nicole lost her pants. And they were like, you have to finish without your pants. Like BB said over the thing. You keep going without your pants.
And I remember, I think Nicole was talking to Tyler, and he was like, was there like enough to cover? And she's like, please, I wear granny panties. Like, yeah, it was fine.
Amazing. Can't wait for that.
But it also seems like it was something with shapes. People talked about, like, I think Christmas was saying like there was like a mushroom shaped one or something. They're talking about like having to kind of feel out different shapes. So who knows if they're like,
I think they were given 3 shapes. And so that's what they're looking for. And each shape corresponded with one of the 3 powers. So Christmas said hers was the mushroom. So that's the one she finds, it sounds like. And so that means she gets that power. And we have learned 2 of the 3 powers.
Right. So Christmas has one, and then Danny has the other one. Christmas revealed that hers is called the blocker.
Yes.
And hers is that she gets to save someone from being a replacement nominee. And she has to like get up and physically say it. She can't do it in secret. So she'll either stand up and prevent someone from being a replacement nominee, or if she has the veto, if she wins the veto, she could save someone from the block and also block someone else from being a replacement nominee, is what it sounds like. And I feel like what we heard from Christmas is probably true, because she's telling Tyler.
She was telling Tyler.
Tyler's her number one. So
exactly. And she's like, I'm not going to tell anybody else, which so far is true, which is always interesting to see. And I honestly, in my heart of hearts, was like, I bet you Tyler has the third and he's not telling you nothing, Christmas.
I was thinking the same thing because it's like, I'm just like,
as
who has the third
power?
Like Tyler is definitely someone I could see having it and not telling anybody. Or it could be maybe a Davon because the person she would probably tell is Bailey, and Bailey's like been out of commission, you know? So we're trying to figure out who that third one is. But Danny's is a bit, we don't know what it's called, but she is not happy with this power.
Okay. Danny's version is, she says, I literally cried in the DR when they told me what it was. And I said, I don't mean to be ungrateful, but this is garbage. She said it's literally trash. She's so unhappy with it. Again, she's only telling Nicole so far. Nicole is her closest ally. But it's actually not trash. It's not garbage, but it doesn't really work with the way that Danny plays. So I understand why it's not super useful to her. But basically, and this is new, I don't feel like we've had anything like this before. You can replay the HOH to allow the HOH comp to allow the HOH to play, basically, is what you're doing. Is that how you understood it?
I mean, to be honest, I had a bit of trouble following Danny because I felt like she was being a touch vague with Nicole, even though Nicole is her number one. Right. I couldn't tell. The impression I got was like, she has the power to allow the HOH to participate. And so if she wanted to, next week, she could allow Christmas to play in the HOH with this power. Or, I think
that's what it boils down to. I don't know why she was like, play again.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
I can have us play the HOH again.
Yeah. And I also was kind of unclear if it was just applicable to her, if she was the HOH, she could play it again, or if it was is it to anybody?
Yeah, she definitely made it sound like and both of these that we know about are over the next 3 weeks. So this HOH round and the next two, it sounded like, because she was like, I can't win anything. This is useless to me. It sounds like someone more like a Christmas who loves to win, or like a Cody and a Memphis who like, you just win. And that's how you win Big Brother. They would win HOH and then they would use this power and say, I'm going to play in the HOH comp next week. That's how it would be useful. And that's why I'm saying it's not complete trash. It just doesn't work for her because she's not trying to win anything really.
Totally. She's been throwing comms. She's been playing under the radar. But I could see it being like something that could be very useful. I think it could give you a little more confidence. If you were the HOH and you had this power, it could give you a little more confidence to like go for a really big move one week, knowing that you could allow yourself to play HOH again and play for safety. Because so many times like HOHs are like, well, I can't do anything too big because I can't play HOH next week. I don't want to be a target next week. But if they can, have this power, then it gives them a little more freedom to make a big move during, an HOH reign.
And I feel like if it's only worth 3 weeks, that last week, if let's say Nicole is her closest ally, let's say Nicole was HOH in 3 weeks, then Danny might as well just use the power and allow Nicole to play for HOH again, just because that's her alliance member. And like, why not let them play in the next HOH round?
Yeah, right.
Like, it's not horrible, but yes, it's not like an amazing, I shut down the noms and I say my own noms.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I would prefer Christmas's power, I think, the power to block a renom. Feels like a bit more,
if you think that you're about to be backdoored, then you play that and you're like, oh, whoops, you can't backdoor me. Like, that's a pretty solid.
Yeah. Well, and then one of the things that Tyler was pitching to her to really like take advantage of this power, if she ends up, if there's not a real reason for her to use it, if she doesn't specifically want to save someone, he's like, why don't you get fake close to Kevin over the next 3 weeks?
Right.
And then use the power, on your last week, your last chance to use it, so that whoever the HOH is will target Kevin as like your best friend in the house to kind of like get at you a little bit still, you know? So like Tyler's like cooking through all the possibilities already. And Christmas is like, of course, she's like, I love it. It was your idea. So yes, I'm in, you know?
Brilliant. I love it. I mean, Tyler is always thinking 5 weeks ahead and got plenty of ideas. But so those are the two that we do know. I feel like if we're just examining energy, body language, like the vibe, like I'm going to go out on a limb and say Bailey doesn't have one because she was so upset.
Yeah.
She doesn't have one. Yeah. Memphis was in a really good mood. He might have the third. Tyler, wouldn't put it past him to win one and just be super secretive about it. Yeah.
Because Tyler throws competitions publicly, but I don't think he hates winning something privately and being able to keep it secret.
No. Absolutely. Yeah. He's going to want a power. Nicole doesn't have one. She would have told Danny.
She would have told Danny. Yeah.
So with that, just like trying to figure out who might have the third one, Davon had a conversation with Christmas, just a solid like checking in. She was really trying to be like, you know, this whole me versus Danny, it's just such a distraction, you know, like someone else pitted that information out there. I really think they're the problem, like really just trying to be like, it's not me, it's not Danny, like it's somebody else. Now we know that that's Tyler. Who started all of this.
Right.
But she's not naming names. She's just alluding things to Christmas. And Christmas just like doesn't want any other information. Like Christmas has her set plan. And she's like, sure, whatever. And Davon's like, well, I just hope that, you know, if you do decide on me, like if it is me, like you would just give me a heads up. And Christmas is like, I'm not giving anyone a heads up.
I can't.
And that made me go, oh, does Davon have one of those powers where she needs to know that she might be a nominee and then she can stop that from happening?
Pre-noms. She might have like maybe during the nomination ceremony before Christmas turns the key, Davon has to like stand up and say, you can't nominate me kind of thing.
He has to say, I'm going to use my power and I can't be nominated. And then Christmas is like, oh, crap, this doesn't work.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Well, it does not work initially, like you say, because Christmas is like, I can't give anyone a heads up. It's nothing against you individually. I'm not telling anyone anything. But like the truth is that Christmas is thinking very seriously, like her plan is to put Davon and Bailey on the block. And this kind of started last night because Tyler, like we said, like we thought Tyler was going to be right up in that HOH room in Christmas's ear, as is his MO. And sure enough, when the feeds came back, he was up there. And a little bit of a surprise, he was pushing for Davon and Bailey to go on the block. Like he was not.
Oh, not at all. No.
I thought he was saying like, you need to put Davon and Bailey on the block. Not Danny.
I did not see that. So first off, Christmas like started doing one-on-ones immediately. By the time the feeds come back, she'd already done like half her one-on-ones. Like what is this? They're not even in the HOH room. They're in the lounge room. It's like, calm down. Like pause just a second. Okay. But she was like, I'm HOH. Let's go. Everyone come in individually. And they literally were just like sending people in. Oh, it was just like, whatever. But Tyler, at first because Christmas like laid it out, she was like, obviously it has to be Bailey and Davon, like has to be. And he was like, well, you know, Danny's going after them. So like, you know, it's nice to have people in the house that like go after each other.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like that was the first attempt, like the subtle Tyler attempt of like, why don't you leave them in the house? Like they're already going after each other. You don't have to worry about it. But Christmas kept calling Danny a friendly, and she was like, our alliance, the committee. Remember that, David? I thought this had fallen apart, but it is.
Christmas is like gonna hold this thing together like she's frickin' Spider-Man with the subway that's been torn apart. You know, like she is trying to hold the committee together single-handedly.
Literally, that she will live and die by the committee. She thinks that they are the strong six that are running the house. Like the delusion in this girl. was fascinating. But so she was sort of like swatting down, you know, the little softballs that Tyler was throwing. So then he eventually is like, oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha. And then, you know, he doesn't like press hard.
Yeah.
So by the end of it, he's like, yeah, Bailey and Davon, gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. So it started last night. Like this kind of was Christmas's plan all along. And like you say, like Tyler's not the only one who's been throwing softballs at her, but she like keeps batting them away. And she is just like singularly focused on this Davon and Bailey plan. But before we get to these additional softballs, it kind of starts with Nicole and Danny are up in the HOH room. Danny's revealing her power to Nicole, and then Davon comes up. And this is when Davon starts to do this excellent work that you were talking about. She's like, we got 5 minutes. Like, let's talk. And then like 2 minutes later, Christmas and Tyler come in, and Christmas is like shoving pizza in her mouth. And they're like, we'll give you the room. And so they go to the have not room, and they're talking, and they just start to compare notes. Who's your source? Tyler. Like they're both acknowledging that Tyler is the one who is like common denominator.
Flat out throwing Tyler's game under the bus.
Yeah.
Big time. Over and over again.
Yeah.
All the details.
And it's funny because Tyler walked in with Christmas into that HOH room, and they're like, ooh, we're about to blow your game up, so we got to get out of here and go to the have not room. See you later. But it does not take long. And this is kind of what I was wondering would happen when, you know, Tyler was initially, we saw in last night's episode, Tyler telling Davon, like, Danny's coming after you, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of expected there to be more suspicion there. And sure enough, there was, but we just didn't see it on the show. But Davon is telling Danny, like, this just didn't sit well with me. Like, you are someone who is close to me. I didn't think this was true. I had to come and check with you. And it's just like bomb after bomb on Tyler's game. And they just keep kind of building each other up. Like, yes, Tyler is trying to pit us against each other. The guys want all the girls out. We have to stay strong. There's some bad. They're like really building each other up. Like they're going to be in some like super tight women's alliance or something coming out of this. I don't know. But it's interesting. It's going to make the game interesting, but like it's not entirely accurate because it really did start with Danny. Like Danny was planting seeds about Davon and Bailey. That is a fact.
Yeah. I mean, all this isn't. When is the truth important in this game? Like they twist everything to like save their game and like to make themselves look good. And at this point, so many names have been thrown out that it's like, no, I would never. What? You know, like that kind of stuff. But it was interesting because Davon's been trying to cover her bases since last night. She is like on track, right? And so she says to Danny and Nicole, like, look, we got to just air it out. Like, if we've said stuff about each other, let's just come clean and like put it behind us because there's bigger stuff to worry about and we need to move forward, which is a great approach.
Yes.
And then that helps them to sort of like, you know, once Davon's like, it was Tyler and here's what he said, Danny's clicking because, oh yeah, I did say that to Tyler. And oh, she did get that information. That does check with Danny's history and Danny's mind. So she has to just jump on that like, oh my God, I can't believe that I never said I was coming for you, which is true. She said she was coming for Bailey. That's what Danny was saying.
That's what she says to Davon. Yeah, and, she's like, true. Yeah, because she's like, listen,
up, but
she's like, if I ever said your name, Davon, it was that you would go up next to Bailey, but Bailey was the target. I wanted you to stay. Like she's like really hammering that home. And like you say, when Davon's like, let's air it all out, she's like, I'll start. I admit I did this. And that just really like, that was such a smart move because it just opened the communication lines. It was like Davon's spilling info and that just makes Danny comfortable to be like, okay, yes. Like, and it, like, again, like you say, it's just, everything's ringing true for Danny. Like, yeah, I did say that. And now I know I can't trust Tyler because he's running and telling this to Davon and Bailey. So let me get Davon back on my side. And maybe it's time for us to turn on Tyler. And Nicole Franzel is just sitting there listening. She is a fly on the wall in this conversation, just filing all this information away in her head.
Okay, now Davon and Nicole did have a talk last night where they just kind of sort of patched up. Like, we don't have to go into it, but it was basically like, girl, we've been there before. We've played together before. Like, let's not let these miscommunications get between us. Like, you know, we're good. So another thing that happens in this conversation, because they're throwing Tyler under the bus, they're like, all Tyler. They're like, let's get him backdoored. Like, he's got to go this week. Let's get him backdoored.
Yes. Well, then Christmas walks in. She finishes up her conversation with Tyler and she's like, should I go check on whatever's happening in the have not room? And he's like, yeah, you should go and just say that you want to like talk with everybody before you do the noms. So she pokes her head in and she's like, I just want to make sure I'm talking to everybody. Are y'all still talking? Like, what's going on? And Nicole's like, well, I'll come. So Nicole goes into the HOH room with Christmas. I mean, I didn't have a timer on it, but I'm going to say it was less than 2 minutes before Nicole was like, Tyler's the source. Yeah. And Davon and Danny want you to backdoor Tyler this week. Like, it just comes out. And she's like, you have to promise, you promise you're not going to tell anybody. Oh, of course, I promise. Of course. And she just lays it all out there.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about like who was the source, because they're saying like, Bay Day versus Danny is just a distraction. Who's setting this up? Like a lot of people are like, who's setting this up? But Davon wasn't saying names. Like, she was like, I'm not going to say who it was, So it's not until Nicole walks in and Christmas is like, who is the source? Yeah. But of course, it's the person that is the closest to Christmas.
Exactly. And then, because then Christmas is like on defense for Tyler, right? Yeah. Like, this is again where she's starting to like bat these things away because her plan is her plan. I'm not going to get distracted by I'm definitely not going to get distracted by a backdoor Tyler plan, because that's 100% not happening on my HOH. She's not saying that, but she's like, no, Nicole, like, I don't think Tyler's the source. Tyler's not the source. Kaser is the source. And that's like, it's so easy to say that because Kaser's gone.
Are you sure it's not Kaser? I really want it to be Kaser. Like, that fits my narrative perfectly if it could just be Kaser. So let's say Kaser. And she's like, no, it's Tyler. And she's like, that doesn't work with the narrative that I want.
Yeah. But like, Nicole is also like kind of keeping her options open. And she's saying like, listen, I'm not saying Tyler definitely is the source. Right. Maybe Davon is playing us, because this could be like a brilliant escape plan for her. Like, to say, well, I heard this all from Tyler, when that's not actually the truth. Like, it could be a super brilliant plan.
Yeah, I mean, Nicole has been playing Christmas this whole time. She does spill some information. Once you kind of see that Christmas isn't like, oh my God, let's go for Tyler. Anyone else might have jumped on and been like, yeah, let's backdoor Tyler. She didn't do that. So Nicole's like, whatever you want. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Right. And then when she leaves, Danny does a little bit more of like, I can't believe this, but it was Tyler. And he's trying to pit all the girls against each other. And Christmas is like, I don't know. He's in our alliance, David.
Yeah. Oh, she's so set on the committee.
Times did she talk about the committee, her alliance?
She keeps hammering home like this committee, it's gotta work until it's the 6th. And then, it's all like, bets are off. But like, we gotta make the committee work until final 6. Like, that's the only game plan that she sees could work.
Yeah, she's like, if you don't like someone in the alliance, like, we just got to work through it, because this 6 is going to final 6. Like, that's it. Yeah. And
she
Danny did
like, we all got to get into a room. Yeah, we got to talk it out and iron these things out. But you're right. Like, Danny is kind of like, okay, yeah. Yeah.
I don't... Sasha is saying if the information gets back to Tyler, I don't know that Christmas will tell him, just because she might try to protect him, but it's going to get back to Tyler real soon. Like, it is heating up, and Tyler is in Trouble with a capital T. So it won't be long till he hears about all of this.
For sure. He's like, not in trouble this week. Christmas is not going to put him on the block.
For sure.
So it's kind of like, TikTok, like, when is Tyler going to find out about this? He's fine for this week because, Danny's not in power, Davon's not in power. But like, again, this like Tyler Danny war that you were talking about last night is just starting to heat up even
for
more.
real now. Yeah. I thought it was going to be a subtle war, but it is going to be a straight up real battle here soon.
Yeah.
So the whole Danny and Davon agreement, though, was like, we're going to just keep this facade up. We're going to tell people we tried to squash it and just couldn't. So they're not going to let on that they feel good about each other now. And it does seem like Davon really does feel good about Danny. And it does seem like Danny feels really good about Davon from the other conversations that happened. But they're going to play it off to the guys. That they're not.
Yep. So they're trying to keep up that facade, which I think is smart. Like, because
it's smart, but it didn't work when Janelle and Danny tried it.
True. Yeah. But I feel like there is, we saw Tyler kind of saying to Christmas last night, like, let's keep people in the house who will go after each other. So people are thinking about that specifically in relation to Danny and Day. So it might work to their benefit for people to think that they're going to go after each other, because then maybe they'll keep them both in the house.
Yeah, for sure.
Then there was an interesting conversation between Davon and Kevin.
Oh my God, David, I almost wanted to record it. I was like, Kevin, welcome. Hello. It's so nice of you to show up. This was like, you're playing Big Brother. What?
Well, yeah, and playing Big Brother and having a correct read of a situation specifically.
A correct read without specific words, you guys. It was brilliant. I was like,
because he has a conversation with Christmas where he's like, I'm not going to be a pawn every single week. Are you going to put me up? And she tells him, no, I'm not going to put you on the block. Yeah. So then when Davon is down they're in the like showman's room or whatever, and she's kind of like recapping what's been going on, with her conversations. And he's saying, I'm safe and I have a bad feeling about you and Bailey. Yeah. And she's like, well, why do you think that? Like, why do you think that Christmas wouldn't put you on the block? And he's like, because I asked her. And she's like, well, what did she say? And he's like, she said no. And Davon is like, oh, okay, because she did not tell me no.
No, she said, I'm not telling anyone. So let's just back up just a smidge, because what we do need to know is everyone in the committee knows that Bay and Day are the planned nominees. Yeah. But if you're outside of the committee, plus Enzo. Enzo's not in the committee, but Christmas is close to Enzo, so he knows. Yeah. But otherwise, she's like, I've got a plan. I know what I'm doing, just a little subtle, right? Yeah. To Davon, she's like, I'm not telling anyone. Like, it is what it is. Got to do it. And Davon and Bailey have no hint that they're going up. Here's what we got to remember. Like, they've gotten no clues. So if Davon does have that power, which we do not know if Davon has a power, this is us hopefully speculating. If she does, like, she needs to use it, but she hadn't gotten any hints until this moment, because she was like, aren't you worried, Kevin? I think in her heart of hearts, she thought Kevin was going up. Yeah, and she was like, aren't you worried? And he's like, no, I'm worried for you. She's like, for you? He's like, no, I feel good for you. She's like, for me? For you. For me? He's like, for you. So besides what you had just said of like, she gave a flat out, you're not going up.
Yeah.
Christmas asked for Kevin's help to diffuse things after the nominees are mentioned. And Kevin's like, oh, if she's putting Cody up, I don't talk to him. Like, what am I not
diffusing that? Yeah. And like, Ian's not going to throw a fit if he goes on the block. So that. Like,
he's like, so obviously,
she possibly be talking about?
And she's like, oh, that was the first time that it sunk in. She thought she was in with Christmas.
Yeah.
She has felt good with Christmas this whole time. She had no idea that Danny's been planting these seeds for weeks. I mean, that's really what we're at right now, is that Danny planted these seeds to Christmas weeks ago.
Yeah, and they've
Chris
grown. You know, like it's too late. Even though Davon has smoothed things over with Danny, at least for now, you know, as of an hour ago, it's too late for this week. Like Christmas is like kind of dead set on this as the plan, but it is good for Davon to have this, you know, little heads up. Christmas wasn't going to give it to her. She got it from somebody else. And she's saying to Kevin, like, okay, I need right now, I need to focus on having my emotions now so that when my face shows up on the nomination board, I don't make any kind of face. I don't have any kind of reaction. So it's never good to be nominated, but it is good to just have a little heads up so you can manage your reaction to it, you know, because that changes things.
Yeah. And of course, I was also like, and if you have a power, go use it right now.
Yeah, right.
And also, like, plan your face, but also like plan you to use your power and never
plan your speech for your power.
And again, I'm just speculating. We have no proof that Davon has a power whatsoever.
We're hoping. Yeah, we're hoping.
That is just our highest hopes. Okay, Griffin is asking a very quick question about the bigger target of Bailey and Davon, and the target has switched. It used to be that Bailey had a lot of people protecting her. Some people wanted Bay out, some people wanted Day out. But as of right now, Bailey is sitting in the worst spot for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Given the blow up that happened that we didn't get to see, people seem like Bailey's got to get out of here. However, I will say that there are conversations about getting them both out pre-jury because they feel that the people in the house, at least Christmas, I think it was a conversation between Christmas and Tyler, and they were talking about how they feel both of them are emotional voters. They can't rely on them in the jury to vote on who actually played the best game. There's a mention of Davon didn't vote for Nicole. She voted against Paul, that kind of thing. So there are some people in the house who want them both out pre-jury, but I would say that this week, the bigger target right now is definitely Bailey.
They only have this week. This is it. This is the last pre-juror this week. So you got to take your pick.
Is that true? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Week, right?
Yeah, this is week. This is going to be the fifth elimination. Yeah,
it is. 5 pre-jurors for sure.
Gotcha.
Lori Lyon, thank you so much for the super chat.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So yeah, unfortunately, you know, Bailey has mentioned a lot of people's names lately over the last 24 hours. First, she said Ian last night, and there was a whole drama because she said Ian's name last night. And then today she said Tyler and Enzo's. She might have said Cody's as well. I'm not sure, but I definitely heard Tyler and Enzo. And so they're upset with her. They're mad. So, and that's who she had the support from. The triple threat, Tyler, Enzo, and Cody were the ones who were like, we'll put both of them up, but we'll save Bailey. Like, we want to keep Bailey. And now they're like, Bailey's got to go. Bailey's got to go. She's spilling our names and throwing our games, and she's got to go. So a lot can happen over the next few days. We're still waiting for noms to happen, but Christmas is dead set. She's not changing her noms. It will be. Hello, my hair is like,
look at
that. She said on Bailey and Davon. So Davon and Bailey are going to be mad because they don't see that coming.
Right.
And things could change. But as of now, Bailey it's not looking good for her.
Not. But for people who want Davon and Bailey to stay in the house, if Davon does have this power to block herself as a nominee, that could be best case scenario for Davon fans, because one of the things that Christmas is worried about, and one of the things that she has been talking about putting in her speech as to why she's putting Davon next to Bailey, is essentially she's worried that if Davon's not on the block next to Bailey, then Davon could win the veto and save Bailey, and then she would also be safe, and then they can't get either of them out. So she really wants to have them both next to each other on the block, so that only one of them can come down. And she's going to tell, Davon in her speech, like, you're Bailey's untouchable. I know that you're Bailey's ride or die, and I am, never going to be a part of that. So like, she's just going to say, like, we got to break up this power duo here. But she just definitely wants them on the block next to each other so that only one could come down from the veto. But if Davon has this power and can block herself from being a nom because Kevin gave her this heads up, then she potentially could win a veto and save Bailey. And then who knows what's going to happen this week.
That would be the first great thing that has happened in 2020.
Definitely this season of Big Brother.
Okay, I'll narrow it down to that and not be so dramatic. But yeah, the way that things have been going, we have not gotten our way at all. But that would be amazing. Literally, my hair and my microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have high hopes because, again, this is all just being hopeful. But gosh, wouldn't that be the first great thing that has happened? Because honestly, Christmas is saying, like, I love Davon. Davon's great. Like, I don't really want to put her up. The target is Bailey in Christmas's mind. Yeah. She's like, but Davon is her alliance member, and they have told Christmas that Christmas does have that information that she can say in her speech. Like, you told me that you'll never go against each other, so I have to put you up together. So, again, Danny planted all this. Christmas has very few thoughts of her own. But if you really think that that's what your 6-person alliance wants, I get it, what you're doing.
Yeah. Right.
But I mean, also
Christmas is the thoughts that Christmas has on her own are just baffling in themselves, because she's talking to Danny and she's like, I want Davon to stay. I like Davon. I want to be her friend outside of this house. Da, da, da. She's like, I like Davon. Right. I like Davon so much. I want her to stay, and I want to see her be HOH, even though I might be a target for her on her HOH. I want her to stay and be HOH. I'm like, girlfriend, if you think someone is going to target you, you got to get them out of the house. That's how you play Big Brother. What are you doing?
She thinks she's so overly loyal. She is a team player. Like, she is playing with a 6-person team that's so important to her. And she said, as HOH, it is a service position, not a power position. So I really need to hear everybody and be of service, which I guess she thinks that her alliance has told her Bay and Day, but she actually didn't listen to anybody. She told them her targets were Bay and Day, and that was it. So I don't understand Christmas at all. I also, last night, she said, this is the first HOH that I've legitimately won by myself.
No, you won by default.
But at least she knows she didn't win that one in 19.
Well, true. At least she knows that. Thank you for
acknowledging that. But also this one, oh dear, honey, you did. You
sat on the couch until the last 2 questions, and then you didn't ring in, and then you were crowned HOH. That's not a win. Like, take the safety suite win for yourself. Take this power win. Those are legitimate wins. This HOH don't bother putting that on your resume.
I wish I understood how her brain worked just a little bit more. I just don't get it so much. Oh
my God.
She also asked everyone in her one-on-one, but wasn't my speech amazing? Like, did you hear my speech? You loved her Christmas Carol, right, David?
Sarah, you better not do that for the rest of the season and egg me on to say mean things about Christmas's speech, because I'm going to take the bait. Okay.
Everyone hated that speech. To go, oh, I loved it. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Somebody was like, and I think Julie really loved it. Did you hear her go, wow? I was like,
my God.
Laying it all thick.
I think Julie was more like, wow.
Wow, you did that?
Wow, who wrote that for you? Because I'm sure it wasn't you.
Okay, because side note, God, I don't really want this to sound like we're bashing Christmas, but side note, here we are. In one of Janelle's interviews or podcasts, she said that she asked Julie when she was leaving. She was asking Julie, she said, how did Christmas get in there? Talking about that 6-person alliance that Julie had like presented to her. She said, how did Christmas get in there? That's what Julie thought. Julie goes, in there? I don't know. Janelle was like, she thought I said the house, and she said, I don't know.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's just Janelle reporting it. So I don't know if it's 100%, but I was like, dead. I was like, what?
That's
Really?
amazing. Oh my God.
Oh, okay. And I'll stop right there with my Christmas stories.
Yes, right.
Um,
Well, do you have the feeds on? I had to turn them off on my end. I can't
I
tell if
don't,
they've
but I'm
gone down for
watching
noms or.
Twitter and I haven't gotten any alerts here.
Yeah, I did see
Um,
them talking about, like, I think Nicole came up to the HOH room and was commenting that they had the noms today thing was not up yet. So they were kind of speculating that it was going to be later than normal.
Yeah, it had just gone up like right before we went live.
Yeah, because it was in Memphis who came up to tell Christmas that it was up. Yeah.
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 So, okay. Feeds went down at 5:25. So just like,
they've been down for a minute. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, noms are happening right now. It will be Bailey and Davon. More drama will unfold.
Yes.
Everyone is upset with everyone right now. Everyone is covering their butts and lying left and right and saying half truths. So those of you who have been waiting for fun feeds, it is here.
It's here. Yeah, get into it.
Yeah. So that is the update for today.
Yes.
We appreciate you guys hanging out with us live in the chat.
Yeah, as always.
Always fun. And then we'll be back on Monday, right, David?
I love it. We'll be recapping the Sunday episode, which I'm sure we largely just spoiled. So we will see everything that we just talked about on the Sunday episode, and then we will also get to see. I'm very excited to see this BB Basement comp. It sounds like it's going to be really fun to watch.
Oh yes.
And if I'm sure we'll find out who has that third power soon, but we'll get to see that. We'll get to see the noms. And then we'll recap it all on Monday. Also
have a veto information on Monday.
Yeah,
because they will play veto tomorrow, and we'll figure all of that out.
Yes.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.